Hi, I'm Johnny Crist, and this show's called That's Exciting. So during these next few minutes, I want you to prepare your mind, specifically your heart, because you're going to have a world view that will be expanded in this next half hour as we're together. Now, podcasts are the creation of where a whole lot of millennials gather to get information. And have you noticed that all of our language continues to change to be more hip? Well, I don't even know if that word's even current anymore. It used to be hip. Now we're something else, I guess. Well, in my graduate school days, we talked about the silent generation. That is those who were raised in the World War II from the Great Depression to 1946. And then came the boomers from 1946 to 1964, and then the busters. But who's ever heard about busters anymore? Where did they go? And what about the silent generation? I haven't heard that term forever. It's all changed. Now it's the millennials, the Xers, the XYZers, and marketing firms give all kind of labels to identify their market. But today I'm not selling nobody nothing, and we're going to hear, and we're just going to listen today. And I'm very interested in us thinking differently about those who are around us because we have incredible resources. Well, about 10 years ago, my father died, and he had more influence in my life than any other human being, and I'm forever grateful. And then 5 years ago, my mother passed away. And when their will was settled just this month, it took 5 years to close the estate. We filed the estate in orphan court. And my sister called me and said, "We're now orphans?" And I thought that was interesting. Never thought about it before that way. So, some days I just want to pick up the phone and call my mom or my dad, and I can't because things have changed and I miss them tremendously. Well, in the studio today, I have two very lovely ladies from another generation, Jean Patterson and Betty Johnston, and these ladies are my acquaintances, but I don't know either of them very well, so this ought to be a very telling time to hear their stories. So here's how this all came about. In our church, my wife and I sit in the same seat every week, and let's just be honest, you do too. Everybody does it. And right behind us is what I call the back row bunch. And, Jean, there are, I think, 6 widows on that.
It's Widow's Row.
There's a name for it. Widow's Row. And they're the most faithful women in the entire church. And I see these gals every week, and we have fun back there just critiquing the pastor, I guess. Is that what we do? Or we kind of run the church from the back? Or do you run the church, Jean?
I don't think so.
Do you, Betty? Or
No.
You're just there. Are you a widow as well?
I am.
Oh, these are...
Today would have been my 67th anniversary.
Oh.
But we were married 56 years.
56. And how about you, Jean?
My husband will be passed away. September 13th will be 3 years. So this is fresh for me. We were married 23 years, and I lost him 3 years ago.
How did that happen?
He had heart failure and kidney failure. And we battled it for a year. He was on dialysis, and we battled it for a year, most of the time in hospital and rehabs, just about the entire year before I lost him.
Betty, why aren't you on the, what do we call this row in the back? Widow's Row.
Well, she has her family with her sons. And
My firstborn son and his family. I sit with them.
Oh, so you're boycotting the back row of the church leaders or whatever.
I go to lunch with them. Does that count?
Sure, we'll take anything. So, Jean, your story. What was happening in our world when you were born?
I was 19. Well, I don't want to tell you.
No, my mother always told me, so I'm not going to even go there. But
the war was just over. It was 1944. September 11th. I'm a disaster baby. And
wait a minute, September 11th,
September
1944 was when the war was over.
My birthday. That was my birthday.
So you're coming up here. This is September 1st. You're coming up in 10 days. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Yeah. And we lived in Alabama. My dad was a farmer, and was finding it very difficult to make a living. So he moved to LaGrange. My family, I was 6 months old when they moved to LaGrange, and that's where I was raised. And went to school there, and my dad was in a factory there, and I moved to Atlanta when I got out of high school, and it wasn't long after that I married. I've regretted not going to college, but I didn't regret marrying at that time. But it ended in divorce, sadly. But then the Lord made the path for me to meet Dale. And so I was blessed with that marriage. He was a very godly man.
So you were an Alabama girl
An
to
Alabama
start,
girl.
and then you kind of saw the light, and then...
I'm still a Bama girl.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Okay. Good for you. Jean, Betty, how about you? So where'd you...
I'm an Atlanta native.
Oh, born at Grady.
No, I was born at the Old Piedmont Hospital. It was a mansion downtown. And 1937, December the 1st, 1937, firstborn. And we lived in the same home it was the area still called Home Park. It's between 10th and 14th, 2 streets back from Northside Drive. And that's my mother and father are with Atlanta natives.
And where'd you go to school?
O'Keefe.
What does that mean?
O'Keefe High School is now owned by Georgia Tech.
So do you just say you went to Georgia Tech?
Nope. I went to O'Keefe. And my mother was a basketball star at O'Keefe. And so, we went to the same elementary school, and just an unusual thing nowadays, isn't it? Because my children have lived in, my husband and I've owned 5 homes. The oldest son, he and the second born, they've had 5 homes. But I lived in one home until I married.
You seem to be a very happy person. Have you always been like that?
No.
Oh, really? I mean, you've laughed since we've walked in this room. What is are you trying to encourage Jean to stay while she wants to run out or something?
I just...
I can't imagine that she was never happy.
That's the way you know her, too.
Yeah.
I was on my better days, I was always happy, but moody. And circumstances dictated that. I was very much led by my feelings. And I was in church, and at 12, my friend was joining the Methodist Church, and she said I should too. And my mother told the pastor, she doesn't know what she's doing. He said, it's better to be in the church than out. So I considered myself a Christian at that point, but there was no power, no new life. So I was 37 before I came to the end of myself.
Oh, my goodness. There's a story.
I was a strong-willed child, and my firstborn was a strong-willed child, and
God's getting back at you.
He brought me to the end of myself. One
go.
day I yelled, "Damn you," at him, and the shock of it, I had never even said that word, and it sent me to my room crying, and that day I slid down off the bed onto my knees, and I said, "Lord, I can't. If this is all there is to being a Christian, I read about victorious people.
Something needs to change here.
But I don't know anyone. If you can do anything with it, here it is. I give up." Little did I know that I surrendered that day.
So you're on a platform right now. I want to talk about some other things, but she's preaching, so we ought to let her go, huh?
That's how I got joyful.
That's a good reason. So I wanted to hear from you, too, because you bring to the table things that very few could ever bring. And I'd like to talk in a very honest way about aging, if we can have a discussion. It's difficult, but you probably, when you think about your life, you say, in the rearview mirror are my educational years, my child-raising years, my career, and our grandchildren. And what's next? What are you looking for that really motivates you while we see the biological clock ticking in all of us? Let's be honest about that. But what really motivates you when you see so much in the past rather than in the future? When you're in high school, the world is at your... But then as we grow older, we look at life differently. Can you talk about that, Jean?
Well, I have a mother who is 102 years old. So I think I have a lot more to look forward to. I'm 77, but I hope God won't do that to me because I don't have children. I have stepchildren, and they are tremendous as far as taking care of me. They get around me like a mother hen with her chicks. They really take care of me.
And that's an interesting comment. They take care of me. I don't say that. I don't say that to anybody. Well, nobody takes care of me. I take care of me.
I don't want to be taken care of. I'm still young, so they kind of smother me sometimes. But it's a good feeling to know that they are there.
What does it feel like to know that somebody wants to take care of me?
Well, it's a comfort. It's a comfort.
Feeling.
It gives me peace, but I don't want to be old yet. So I keep telling them, I need my space. I'm glad that you love me. I'm glad that you want to make sure that I'm taken care of, but I'm not finished yet. I'm still taking care of other people.
Do they think that you're finished?
No, they don't, but they just still want to hover around me, and I'm appreciative of that.
Well, it's got to feel good.
Say I didn't have children, but there was 8 years between me and my sister. She's 8 years younger. And I was used to being the baby. So I was very resentful when she came along, but she became my daughter. I helped raise her, and she's still that way. She's still my little baby sister, but she's kind of like my child, too.
I see that. Betty, do you have those same kind of thoughts that people want to help you?
Not. First of all, I don't feel old. I look old, but I don't feel old. And I'm not my body, so I think that my inner person, my spirit man, is young. I can't do what I once did. I hurt in places I didn't even know I had, but that doesn't dictate who I am. But children...
do people try to come around and help you when you're like, hey, I don't really need help here?
My oldest son does. But
does what?
I try to limit some of the things I do.
What do you want to do? Jump out of an airplane or something?
I did that. I enjoyed that part, but
Wait a minute, you went skydiving?
But I can't ride a roller coaster.
Wait a minute. When did you jump out of an airplane?
Oh, my goodness. It must have been about 10 years ago. We did a tandem jump, my husband and myself, and loved it, just loved it. But I can't ride a roller coaster. I'm scared to death of it. I rode the Scream Machine, and when I got off of it, I found the first bench I could find, and I cried for 15 minutes. And that's the way I felt today when I was coming here. I felt like they're fixing to strap me in that roller coaster again.
Wait, what possessed... 10 years ago for you to jump out into an airplane?
It was just something I wanted to do. I just thought it would be just a blast to do. And Dale asked me if I would still like to do it, and I said, yeah, so we did, and it was great. Was
he equally as impressed with this thing? He wanted to do it?
Yes, he did. He did it mostly for me, and right after that, he had to have knee surgery, so that made me feel bad, but it was coming anyway. It wasn't the jump, but it was great. Enjoyed it.
Transitions are always difficult. What was it like to lose a husband 3 years ago?
You're going to make me cry. He was my soulmate. And it took me a long time, as you can see, I got over it, the death part. You get over that, but you don't really get over losing that person. He was like my right arm.
Think about him every day?
Oh, my goodness.
Multiple times a day?
Yes.
How'd you get over it?
I'll let you know when I do.
Well, you just said you got over the death part.
As far as watching him deteriorate, I knew that it was the best thing for him, but I just couldn't let go. He kept telling me every time his blood pressure would drop to nothing, and they would have to rush him in and try to get him back. And when they would bring him back 3 times, he would say, "Don't let them do that to me again. I'm going to come back a vegetable, and you're going to be stuck with something like that. So don't keep doing that." But it's hard to tell them, let him go. But the last time it happened, the Lord didn't give me time to make a decision, so I didn't have to say it. So I was thankful for that.
What was your husband's name?
Dale.
Dale. What did Dale tell you that gave you assurance that when he was going to go, you were going to be okay?
It was just an inner peace that he would give me. We would pray, even when he was in the homes, in the rehab homes and hospitals. He would always say, "Don't worry about when I'm gone. The Lord's going to take care of you. There's no doubt in my mind about that. You're going to be fine. You're strong-willed, and you're going to be fine." And he made me believe it. He just made me feel like I could.
Oh, Betty, did you have the same kind of experience when your husband died?
My husband had dementia, and it was over a long period of time. I cried the day I realized that my rock was not as strong as he had been. I found bills in the closet floor in a Kroger bag that he had not paid, and realized something was bad wrong. I cried then, but I don't mean to get on my soapbox, but you're looking at a lady that draws her life and strength from Jesus Christ, so that's the only place I come from. I live by the verse that says, "In everything give thanks." That keeps the problem small and your Lord big.
Did you know he was dying?
Well, I know what dementia leads to. He also had a rare form of blood cancer where it made too much protein, but the doctor said that will not kill him. But he eventually didn't know me, didn't know anything. He forgot how to swallow, and I took care of him at home. So, it was a gradual loss. And I just kept taking up slack and adjusting. And
were you with him when he died?
I was.
Just the two of you, children around?
No, our sons were there, and they had told me that he only had 48 hours probably lived, but he lived 3 days. But he was in a coma, or it may have been the drugs. But the day he died, I had him in a hospital room in our bedroom, and I went to his bed and told him what a wonderful husband and father he'd been, and I guess that was our parting. And that evening, we noticed he just quit. The oxygen machine just quit, so he just slipped away. But as Jean said, the pain goes away in about a year. The crying ceases. But
is that true for you, Jean?
No, I still, just different things can trigger me. Like a song at church, something like that, and I will sob.
And it's because of missing Dale.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Betty.
I miss him every moment of every day. He was my encourager. We laughed a lot. He had a dry sense of humor. I told him one time, I said, "I know you paid a lot for these hearing aids, but they are not helping. I can hear my shoestrings flapping, but I can't understand what people are saying. Besides, they make my head hot." He said, "You're just used to all that air flowing through." Well, I laughed, and then I realized he was saying I was an airhead. That's why we just had a lot of fun. And I miss him telling me everything's going to be okay. That's what you men do. Take us in your arms and tell us everything's going to be okay.
I miss the "I love yous." I would hear it
yes.
a dozen times a day.
you're alone. You're living alone, or you both live alone?
Yeah.
What's that like?
I don't mind. I've never minded being alone. I was divorced 15 years. I never minded being alone, and I didn't anticipate ever marrying again. I had a very bitter marriage, and I did not plan on that. And then he rode up on that white horse.
Wow. In Stone Mountain, isn't that where you live?
In Lawrenceville.
Lawrenceville.
Yeah.
So there are white horses in Lawrenceville.
There was that day.
Wow. I should have been there. Did you capture it on TikTok or anything? Or?
Well, I'll tell you how excited I was. I called him the wrong name when he left. I said, I had a good time, Doug. And he said, well, when I see him, I'll tell him because my name's Dale.
Well, you know how to ruin a guy's day, girl. My goodness. So being alone isn't the big issue for you?
That's not the big issue, no. I miss him. I miss the I love yous. I miss everything, the hugs. But I don't mind being alone in a house. It's just a house.
How about you, Betty?
Actually, my youngest son is living with me now, but he traveled before COVID and would be gone months at a time. And frankly, that part of it I enjoy. For the first time in my life, nobody tells me what to do. No, I'm not responsible for anybody but myself.
It's just
that
me
part's
and my
pretty
cat.
nice.
So you both drive, and you can just go wherever, do whatever.
Right.
And do you go to Florida or stay, or do you live here all the time?
I do. I don't like to travel. I did when I was with him, but I don't like to travel now. Mm-hmm. But I don't have a reason for it. I just prefer to be home.
Yeah, I've traveled, but it's without your other half, it's not exciting.
Yeah, what's a sunset if you share it, don't share it. Yeah.
But we traveled enough that I'm satisfied. I don't feel I've missed anything. But if I want to go, then I go, but don't need it.
What's the dumbest thing that anybody has ever said to you about your age?
Well, it's been years ago that my niece asked me, and I'm not sure how old I was. I wasn't old. Asked me if they had movies when I was a little girl. And that made me feel quite old. But I don't think anyone has ever said anything to me really about being old. I hope they don't consider that I am. I don't feel old. I still climb up on ladders. I still do everything that I ever did before. I'm not afraid of doing anything. And I do it. I like to do it for myself.
Sure. Some people just say things that are just weird that make an imprint.
I've never had that happen to me.
Wow. How about you, Betty? Anything?
I don't recall anything, but 98% of everything is attitude, as you know. And
is what?
Attitude.
Oh, I thought you said out of tune. Attitude.
Now, that's the way I hear with my hearing. My attitude once was negative, and I like myself, and I like living, and I'm just quite content. Wherever I am, I'm content. So if somebody says something, that's just their problem. It doesn't bother me.
I think I've always had a positive attitude. I don't. I can rattle on and on and on for hours, and you just have to stop me, and you have to give me the sign to shut up. But I'm very positive about everything. I don't think I have a negative bone in my body.
Well, I've noticed in our marriage that sometimes my wife just talks. And I think my role as a husband here is to listen. Yes. I don't think she wants any answers from me.
Yes.
I don't, and I'm like, in my head, am I listening to her right now? She's talking about something at the place where she works and the people that I don't know, and she just goes on. And one of the roles of a husband is to do that. So who does that for you right now with your... Loan's good, but you've got thoughts, you've got feelings that you've got to get out. Where do they come?
I talk to me, and I answer me. And I talk to the cat, and And
You literally talk to your cat?
yeah,
What do you say? Let me hear one of these. What's the cat's name?
Ethel.
Ethel?
She's very attentive to me.
Okay,
And she'll
so-
sit there and just look at me, as long as I want to talk, and she'll just have this expression on her face like I understand, Mom, I really do,
Do you have deep conversations with Ethel, or
No,
just kind of like, I am so angry today
Yeah.
about the guys? Okay. So I need to be honest. The name Jean and Betty are not the favorite names of mothers and dads naming little girls. Even your names feel like you belong on Mayberry or something. Hey, Jean, or Flintstones for Jean, and wait, Betty's on Flintstone. Does that make you feel old?
No.
When somebody says, I haven't heard that name for...
I was named after my dad. His name was Shelby Cisna. And he wouldn't let anyone, I'm sorry, Daddy. He wouldn't tell anyone his name. He introduced himself as S.C. Stewart because he thought it was a very sissy name.
Shelby?
So, Shelby Cisna. He was named after a sheriff in Alabama, of course. And so I was named Shelby Jean, but I would have preferred the Shelby, but they chose the Jean, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, it's just a very a memorable or kind of a growing up years. Betty and Jean.
They are old names, I guess.
They are. My name is not Elizabeth, it's Betty. My surname was Ross, so I went through life, you're almost Betsy Ross. Well, now kids these days don't know who Betsy
Who
Ross
is
is
Betsy
until
Ross?
I didn't
the
think my name was old till you brought that up. Now,
Forgive me.
now I know I have an old name.
You're going to have to talk to your cat again and get some counseling in this thing.
Do you know what Johnny said about my name?
How much time does dying consume your mind? Do you ever think about it?
About my dying? None.
None?
None.
How about you, Betty?
None.
Just don't.
I think about seeing the Lord. I think about heaven. I've got my treasures there, but the dying, I've done all the dying I'm going to do.
I have no qualms, no fears about that at all.
But both of you have such good health, you're not feeling like, I'm losing this or I'm losing that. You're just going on, going for it.
I think I'm in good health, but I've had the aorta valve replaced, and I've got 70% blockage in the left artery going up the back of my neck. I'll see a doctor Friday about that. It's made me dizzy, and my vision goes out of whack, but no big deal.
When we think about being a part of another generation, do you feel overlooked?
I don't think I do. I don't.
Mm-mm.
You're doing everything you want to do? I mean, when you turn on television tonight, look at the age of everybody that's on TV. Or when you get on TikTok, which I'm sure, Jean, you're on every day, or are you on?
I turn my TV on, but I don't watch it. It's just someone in the background talking. So I don't really pay attention, and I certainly don't listen to the news anymore.
I see. Well, our whole culture is geared toward youth and youthfulness, and there's really a sense of, oh my goodness, well, obviously people trying to have everything done to their body so they could be youthful, or the way they dress, and all of the reports that we get of people saying, well, nobody wants to hire a person of my age. I'm 55 or I'm 60 or something like that. Just a week ago, we were in Ohio somewhere, and my son's an entertainer. And our 92-year-old aunt came to his show, and I sat beside her, and she said, well, they tell me I'm getting old, so I have to experience things before I get real old. And I thought, what a great comment. Here's a woman who's said what you said, Betty. I don't feel old. But people on the outside say, I'm going to potentially overlook, or I won't invite you, or something like that. What's it like to go out to dinner when you're the one rather than a couple? I mean, you've been going to dinner with your husband forever. And now your world has come down to, I'm the add-on. What does that feel like?
You eventually don't do that much. That we women, unfortunately,
we go in groups. Yeah, groups.
Women need women.
Yeah.
And we're blessed that we have each other. But it doesn't bother me to go with a couple. But at first, it seemed like you were not included. And frankly, to answer something you asked earlier, you're the first one that has ever sought either one of us out as older ladies to know what we thought. So that tells you something.
What does that tell you?
That most people aren't interested in what you know.
And that's the whole thing, that we live next to people. Mm-hmm. We have grandmothers, we have mothers that are age, we have aunts, and the generations below us just cruise right on by as if we don't even exist. And I'm thinking there are pearls of nuggets of wisdom that you have that nobody else has because of what you've seen since 1937, since the war, since when moms and dads really occupied a home together. And now there is a wake-up call, in my opinion, for people in a generation below us to say, I want to include this. I want to include Betty in my life. I want to include Jean in my life. I want to sit with them. I want to listen to them. Because oftentimes the world goes so fast and they're thinking, can you get up these steps, honey? Are you going to be okay? And nobody wants to fiddle with that.
I think that's why we group together, because people under our age don't have that feeling of needing to hear what we have to say. So that's why we depend on each other more than we can't depend on them to even wonder what we think about.
If you go out to dinner with 5 women or 6, what do we call this back row bunch again? What do you call them? The
Widow's Row.
Widow's Row. When Widow's Row goes out for lunch, what do you talk about?
What don't we talk about?
Do you ever talk about men?
Maybe about something our husbands did in the past or something like that. Other than that, I don't think so.
Nobody's interested in dating?
I've been accused of it. I have a backyard neighbor, and that's all he is a backyard neighbor, and I get kidded about him, but if I were to send him even a nice, friendly card, he would be hauling it.
He'd be over real quickly, so I have to keep him at distance.
I see the gravel coming up off the ground where he emitted out of town. No, I'm not interested in anything like that, but I do treasure his friendship. He's about the only man in my life, I guess, as far as being a friend, and that's all he is a friend. But I get kidded about him a lot.
Oh, I'm sure of that. Well, I just believe that seniors around us are our national treasure. And maybe it's your mother, maybe it's your grandmother, maybe it's your aunt. My wife's taken a lead in our family on this issue of always capturing us together. And so my feeling here on That's Exciting is, firstly, I want to thank you two for sharing your heart and being together to be able to talk about these very sensitive issues. But for our listening audience, I think it's rather important to not just be with people like us, but to really venture out and say there's a wealth of information. I am at this age, but someone who's aged up on me has a whole lot to speak into my life. My name's Johnny Crist. This is called That's Exciting, and I'm here with Betty and Jean, fresh from the Flintstones, and we are very grateful that you've come to share your life with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.